came into the fold, God made provision for the church. So when he removes the church, he'll go back to deal with the nation of Israel. And the tribulation period is dealing with the nation of Israel and the unbeliever. The church is in heaven. Thank God, I can hardly wait. That's where Josh is going to be on one side and Jonathan is going to be on the other side. And they're going to see each other. Well, how often are you guys going to go travel? They're going to travel to the middle and visit every 500 years or so. You never know. So anyway, you all know I'm kidding. Somebody's kidding, right? So, getting back to this little story here. So let's see if we can apply this just to get the principles out of it to America. Jesus said, "Oh, Jerusalem, Jerusalem, the one who kills the prophets and stones those who are sent to her." Well, America has thrown off its long-time motto, "In God we trust." I don't know about you, but ever since I was born a long time ago, I've heard, "In God we trust." And pretty much, most people, they believe, yeah, we trust in God. There is one God, right? People would say that. So we are considered by the latest Christian surveys nowadays a post-Christian nation. We're not considered a Christian nation anymore. You remember when President Obama was in power, when he made that tour around the world, he said America is not a Christian nation. And a lot of the believers in America, we were shocked. Wait a minute. We are a Christian nation, but he was right. We're not a Christian nation anymore. We're considered by the experts who polled these things that we're a post-Christian. We're after. We used to be a Christian nation. That's a shame on America. That's a shame for us. And for those of us that are Christians, it's a tough pill to swallow. America has refused God's messengers and their message. Right? We have refused the message. The last guy that was preaching the gospel on a big scale in America was Billy Graham, a Baptist man, and he was preaching, and he was respected by the government and by most people in America that still respected preachers to some degree. But I can't think of one that has that kind of stature and that kind of platform anymore. So as a nation, we've refused God's messengers. Our government, listen, has persecuted the Christian by altering its laws to make the Ten Commandments, Bible reading, prayer, makes these things crimes if they're offered in our schools, in our courts, in our city, state, and federal buildings and property. You'll be put in jail for preaching the gospel or just for preaching the Ten Commandments. And some already have. Kids have been expelled. Yeah. People have been kicked off school boards. Teachers have been let go because they had a Bible in their desk, even though they had it there for 25 to 30 years. And now all of a sudden they're told you can't keep it. You can't keep that there. And that's been common knowledge. We've just rejected God. Our government has told the church that we may read and pray as long as we keep it inside the four walls of our houses of worship. It's okay. You guys can do whatever you want. You can sing and dance and do whatever you want to do. Keep it in the four walls. Don't bring it out here. That's how much we've changed. Somebody that was alive during the great revivals in America, I'm thinking the last great revival was Azusa Street, early 1900s, they wouldn't recognize America if they saw it today. Yes. We're just not a Christian nation. There are a lot of Christians here, but we don't have the power anymore. We've lost the power to influence our country, and there are many great believers. Great believers, I believe, are in church today. It's you guys across the nation, people that still hold on to the principles of God's Word. So it's like Jesus is saying, he could say, "Oh, America, America." The ones who kills the evangelists and the preachers and stones or hurts those that are sent to her. They don't want any part of us as a nation. Now, although there are millions of us believers, the people in power, the people that wield the power in America, okay, which is the Congress over here, it's the governor and the legislature in Sacramento, that's where the power is. They want no part of Christianity. They thought it was great when we had the COVID thing, okay, influenza, okay, because they said, let's close the churches down. We can do that. We've been waiting for an excuse to close the churches down, and it went. We stayed closed for a little bit, not very long, and then I decided, nah. The most they could do is put me in jail. So what? If they put me in jail, I'll preach in the jailhouse. I'll do whatever. So thank God, being a small church, they didn't bother with us. But a lot of the churches just stopped having church. And if we stayed out without having church, you know, people that stay out of church for a long time like that could decide, I don't need the church. I don't need it. They become indifferent. And that started happening. I don't know how many churches closed down. In Canada, which is more left than we are, more socialist than we are, okay, preachers were taken to jail because they wanted to hold services. And they were treated like criminals. They're treated like bank robbers and murderers and killers. I mean, incredible. And there were threats here to do that with people, but some of our preachers stood up to that. And thank God, the powers that be wanted to hurt them, but they feared for the public might, you know, vote them out of office. So they didn't do it, but we came very, very close. We were threatened. And whole denominations, the leaderships in denominations, were saying, well, you guys have to be good, you got to obey the laws. How long do we have to obey the laws? This is ridiculous. This is ridiculous. This is, do we obey the Word of God? Or do we obey the laws? You come down to where you're making a decision. So, the next thing Jesus said, how often I wanted to gather you, after he told them that you're the guys that are not letting the gospel in. How often I wanted to gather your children together as a hen gathers her chicks under her wings. So ever since Adam sinned in the Garden of Evil, God has been calling out to man, seeking his companionship. Remember when Adam sinned, the Lord put him in charge of this new world, the whole planet. He says, you have authority. I'm giving you authority in the earth. Just don't eat from that one tree. He gave him a test. Stay away from the one tree. That's all. Anything else you can do. So what did Adam do? He went and ate from the tree he wasn't supposed to. The man and the woman. And some people say, well, that's all. What was wrong with Adam? Hey, you and I probably would have done the same thing. Adam was a total genius. Science has been telling us for years that the average person uses maybe 10% of the brain power that we have. Adam wasn't limited to 10%, man. He had the whole thing. He was talking to God every day in the cool of the day, a nice breeze. And it was nice. And he's talking to God face to face because he was not in sin. So God created him so he could stand up and look at God and they can converse. Well, and he still rebelled against God because that was rebellion. And so ever since that time, God, Adam, where are you? Adam was hiding. He knew he had sinned, him and his wife. Because they didn't realize they were naked. Now all of a sudden, they realized they were naked. It's incredible how nobody had to tell them they were naked. The sin nature told them they were naked. Man knows right from wrong. Well, I didn't know that. Oh, your conscience. God made us with a conscience where we know right from wrong. So God has seen the dangers on the road America has been traveling and has been working to get us off that road and back to him that he might be able to continue to protect us. God sees everything, and he sees the direction America's been taken little by over these years. God has seen it, and he's called out to America. And he usually does it through the believer and through the local church and through believers. And that's why some believers are on fire for God, and some believers are very indifferent. Some believers, they hear the voice of God in their heart. They want to get things right. Others, well, it's not that big of a deal. It seems to that be the way. But Jesus says, how often I wanted to gather. Then Jesus continued, after he says that, how often I wanted to protect you. He says, but you were not willing. Somebody said, well, God's will prevails. Listen, God is not willing that anybody should perish. Isn't that what the Bible says? He's not willing that any should perish, but that everybody come to repentance. Yet Jesus says that the road to everlasting life is a narrow road and it's restricted. It's got stuff in the way, blockages, and you got to work. And then the wide road that leads to destruction is wide, and there are many on it. Somebody said, well, what happened to God's will? There's God's will that has to do with man's will. Man's will can get in the way of God's will, and God allows it. That's right. There are some things that God, he's just going to get his way. He's decided, this is my will, and it's unchangeable, and that's going to happen. But there are other things that he wills to do that he's allowed men's decisions to let his will take place or to block his will. So there are things that man can do to block God's will. A lot of folk don't understand, well, God can do what he wants. Well, he's limited himself in something. God wants everybody to go to heaven, yet most people don't go to heaven, they go to hell. How is that? God allows it. Because you have to believe in the Lord Jesus Christ, right? For God so loved the world. Remember John 3:16. That's the whole Bible in one little nutshell. That whoever believes in him should not perish, but have everlasting life. So that's up to man. So God has seen all of that could happen, and but you were not willing, he says. Isaiah chapter 5, verse 20. Listen to this. Boy, if this is not the Congress of the United States and the Supreme Court, I'm thinking right now of the Congress. He says here, Isaiah 5:20, woe to those who call evil good and good evil, who put darkness for light and light for darkness, who put bitter for sweet and sweet for bitter. So this is a description of the religion of humanism that many of our politicians subscribe to. Abortion. What is about many people, including some preachers, are saying abortion is all right, it's just a choice. You can say it's a choice, but it's a choice to either let my unborn child be born and live, or take its life through the abortion. God calls it evil. God knew us in the womb. The Bible shows us that. He knew us. One of the prophecies, I proclaimed you to be a prophet before you were born. I saw you in the womb. I believe that those babies that have been aborted are in heaven. And I don't believe they're babies. I believe they're grown when they get to heaven. Abortion's evil. Yet in this country, for how many years? We've aborted over 60 million, is assumed. Depends who you listen to, 60 or getting high in the 60s. A Christian nation that we were once called. And those babies have been aborted. And it's okay, it's just a choice. And you see the ladies out there in the news with the signs, it's our bodies, don't tell us what to do. But what about the baby's body? Amen. What about the baby's life? Amen. Doesn't that baby... It was always a crime in this country until, what was it, 73 or the year? Roe v. Wade, crazy decision that wasn't even, like many judges have said, it wasn't even good law, it was wrong law, and that's why it recently has been overturned, because it's bogus law. And it's not constitutional, because it doesn't say anything about it in the Constitution. But many are calling it good. And God says, woe to those who call evil good and good evil. That's where we are. That's where we've been for years in America. You think God doesn't see it? He sees it all. He says, I wanted to gather you to protect you, but you were not willing. So what happens? Jesus says, see, your house is left to you desolate. Oh, that's so powerful. He says, your house is left to you desolate. If I were to apply, as I am today, trying to apply this to the nation of America, your nation is left to you desolate. And when I'm reading that here, it's very interesting because that word desolate is very, very strong. Let me get back to Matthew. I want to show you something here that I have written in my Bible. Matthew 23. For desolate there. That means primarily forsaken by God. Forsaken by God. Your house is left to you desolate. So the Greek word for desolate can mean either of two things. Forsaken. You can say it this way, deserted by God, that's forsaken by God, or abandoned to the enemy. So really you put them together. When you're forsaken by God, you're abandoned to the enemy. Who's the enemy of our soul? Spiritually speaking, we know it's Satan and everything that he stands for. But in this world that we live in the material world, who are the enemies of America? Who are those that want to bring down America and rewrite our Constitution? A lot of them are our judges, our politicians, our governors, our presidents, our educators. Not to mention the nations around that hate America. Why do nations hate America? We've been a blessing to the world. We went through World War I, and thank God the U.S. was involved in World War I. And then World War II, thank God the U.S. was involved in World War II. And how many nations did we rebuild? We rebuilt all of Europe under the Marshall Plan. We rebuilt Japan when we were fighting the Japanese Empire, and they've been one of the closest allies we've had for years. What's all the evil that America's been a blessing when there have been tidal waves that have killed thousands and thousands or in the islands of the world. You know what we've sent? We've sent hospitals, not just hospital ships. We've sent our aircraft carriers. Aircraft carriers are floating cities. They have operating rooms. They have kitchens that could feed thousands every day. They have hospitals. They have every kind of, they have generators that can make power to power their cities. And we have right now 10 big giant aircraft carriers, not to mention the numerous smaller aircraft carriers. We send them around the world to help humanity, and we don't charge $1. And Americans are happy to do it.